Hi, my name is Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a big book haul. So I've counted up, I think I've got 33 books that I've acquired in the last 2 or 3 months. 5 or 6 of them I bought new, all the rest are second-hand, either from charity shops, second-hand bookshops, or books that have been passed on to me by other people. So I'm surrounded by books right now. They're sort of vaguely in piles. Shall I go through the ones that I bought myself first? So we'll start with the books that I bought new, and the one that I got most recently is Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake. So this is a Christmas lesbian rom-com. I've read 2 books by this author before and really enjoyed both of them. Those 2 are part of a series, but this one I believe is a standalone. I find this author's books really funny and just very enjoyable, and this is not my usual, light-hearted is not my usual genre, but I really like this author. I also got Pet by Catherine Chidgey, so I've heard really good things about this, and this is a story about obsession, which is one of my favourite things to read about. So we follow a 12-year-old girl who's drawn to her glamorous new teacher and longs to be teacher's pet. And then I think weird stuff happens. I don't know too much about it, but I've heard really good things about it. So I'm looking forward to that one. I got a couple of Japanese murder mysteries as well. We'll start with this one. I got The Labyrinth House Murders by Yukito Ayatsuji, translated from Japanese by Ho-Ling Wong. So I've read a couple of books by this author. My favourite one is The Decagon House Murders, which pays homage to And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. That's probably my favourite Japanese murder mystery novel that I've read so far. So The Labyrinth House Murders, I think, again, we've got an unusual setting. The settings that this author writes are always like houses with unusual setups, like twisty secret corridors and stuff like that. And there is a floor plan in here. I don't know if you're able to see that on screen, but it looks like a proper maze. I mean, it is called The Labyrinth House, so that would make sense. But yeah, looking forward to that one. And the other Japanese murder mystery I got is The Little Sparrow Murders by Seishi Yokomizo, translated from Japanese by Brian Karetnik. I've read a couple of books by this author. My favourite one, I think, is The Honjin Murders. So I think in this one, there's a series of killings that strikes this small community, and the victims' bodies are arranged to allude to the lyrics of a children's song. It sounds pretty creepy. Just talk about this one first. I got a blind date with a book from the independent bookshop down the road, and I know a couple of the words on the front that made me think I wanted to read it. It was literary thriller, and I think something like twisty, and it's The Anniversary by Stephanie Bishop. So I think it was longlisted for the Stella Prize, so I think that means the author's from Australia. And this is about a novelist who's on a cruise with their husband to celebrate their wedding anniversary. Then a storm hits and her husband falls off the ship. And then the truth about their marriage starts to unfold. So it sounds twisty, sounds like my kind of thing. Also from that independent bookshop, for Independent Bookshop Day, which was a few weeks ago, they were giving away proofs if you spent a certain amount of money. And so they had this big box of proofs, and this is the one that first caught my eye, and it was the one I ended up getting, and it's Delicious Hunger by Hai Fan, translated by Jeremy Tiang. And the reason I really got it because it's Tilted Axes Press, who's a press who I do trust. So this is set in the 70s to the 80s. Oh, is it short stories? Oh, that's interesting. Is it? I didn't realise it was short stories, but that is good because I do like them. So it says the author was part of the guerrilla forces of the Malayan Communist Party. These short stories are inspired by his experiences during 13 years in the rainforest. I didn't even realise that it was short stories. Let me just have a look. Yes, so it is short stories, so actually I'm even more looking forward to that one now. Right, where should we go next? Let's go for these. So there are a few books that I picked up which so these are all secondhand now. So there are a few books I've got from charity shops and other places, books that I have read before, I've really enjoyed, and so I'd like to own my own copies. So the first one is Strangers by Chaichi Yamada, translated from Japanese by Wayne Lammers. So this I read several years ago now. I remember someone in book club brought it in and I read it and really enjoyed it. I say recently, in the last couple of years, it was made into a film called All of Us Strangers, I think. It took me ages to click on that film is based on this book. I don't remember too much about the plot of the book, but I remember it being kind of weird and unsettling. So it's about a man who meets another man who looks exactly like his long dead father. So yeah, I'm looking forward to rereading this actually, because I remember like this was a 5-star read. I absolutely loved it. Another book that I picked up in a charity shop, which is another 5-star read, is Under the Skin by Michelle Faber. This is probably not the most attractive edition, but it's in pretty good quality. I love this book. So this is our protagonist is called Isley, and she is driving around these isolated streets in Scotland, and she picks up hitchhikers. The hitchhikers that she picks up are all men. They're all relatively young, fairly well built. They're sort of quite similar to one another. And as we go through, we start to understand why is she picking up these men, these hitchhikers. I won't say too much else because I don't want to give anything away, but I really like this. If you like, what can I say? If you like stuff that's a bit weird, a bit unsettling, yeah, try it. It's good. This is very exciting. So in work, we have various bookshelves dotted around the place, and people will leave books there they don't want anymore. And so there's one shelf that I often go past when I'm leaving at the end of the day. And it was a Monday night, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this book, and I knew it's not normally there because I always have a look at what's there, and I was like, oh, that's new, what's that? And it is Tipping the Velvet by Sarah Waters. So this is actually pretty, a pretty beat up copy. It's quite damaged. I don't own all of Sarah Waters' books. This is one that I didn't own. And I was a bit and then I realised that it's signed, which is very exciting. So Sarah Waters is my favourite author, and yeah, I've looked online and I think that is her signature. It's not the rarest thing, obviously, but it was just a really nice find, just randomly in work, to find a signed Sarah Waters book. So very pleased with that. Should we move on to... Should we do some classics now? Let's talk about these ones first, actually. So I got 3 children's classics from this second-hand book fair that I go to with my dad quite often. So I've got Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. I now own 5 copies of this book. The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett, and Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So these editions, I think they were published in about 2020 by the Victoria and Albert Museum, and the cover art and the design is taken from and or inspired by William Morris. Really lovely covers. I did debate just getting Anne of Green Gables because it's one of my favourite books, and leaving the others because I do have other copies of both of these books. But I asked how much they were. They were £3 each, and I decided that I just couldn't separate them. That would be too mean. So they are really lovely editions. I've never seen these editions anywhere else. I had a look online. I think other books in this series that they did were The Wind in the Willows and Alice in Wonderland. So I'd like the Alice in Wonderland one, but as I say, never seen them anywhere before. But I'm so pleased with them. They are so pretty. I'm planning on reading Little Women later this year, so I may actually read from this edition. So pleased with those. And then I got some more classics as well. So with classics, generally speaking, and with all these books, If I can get them from the library, I will do that, even when it comes to buying secondhand, unless it's a book that I really want to own. Or with classics, if I can get a nice edition, it might encourage me to pick it up sooner rather than later, rather than just getting it out of the library. So I picked up, I've got 2 more of these Penguin English Library classics. So I've got a little collection going on now. Here, I don't know if you can see that. So I got A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, which I am planning on reading in December. And I also got A Room with a View by E.M. Forster. So the only E.M. Forster I've read is Morris. I am not expecting to like any of his other books as much as Morris, but I thought I'd give this one a go. I also picked up Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. I quite like this cover. I've not seen this one before. I mean, it's kind of faded, but still in reasonable condition. I've read 2 Thomas Hardy so far, Jude the Obscure and Desperate Remedies. Really enjoyed both of them, and I would like to read, well, most if not all of Hardy's other works. So happy to have this. I feel like the next one I want to read is The Mayor of Casterbridge though, because I know my dad's read that recently and really enjoyed it. But anyway, so that's good. And then in a few weeks ago we went on holiday to Llandudno, and one of the days we went over to Anglesey for the day, and on the drive there we took a wrong turning just at this roundabout, so it was like, it wasn't like much of a wrong turn, and we just went off the wrong exit, so we just had to come back and go the other way, which is fine. But because of that wrong turning, we went past a great little second-hand bookshop. So in there I picked up A Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. So I'm pleased with this. The only Toni Morrison I've read so far, I think, is Sula. I have got The Bluest Eye and Beloved on my shelf. I've DNF'd Beloved in the past, but with the intention of going back to it after I've read more Toni Morrison. I just really struggled with Beloved, but loved Sula when I read it. So yeah, looking to read more Toni Morrison, and then I'll circle back to Beloved at some point. So happy to have another one on my shelf. Right, I don't know where to go next. Where should we go? Should we do these next? We'll do these next. At the weekend, I went to a booktube meetup in York, and I acquired a few books that other people kindly passed on to me. So this is I Died at Fallow Hall by Bonnie Burke Patel, which Ben from Ben Reads Good passed on to me. And because he knew that I was really keen to read it, it sounds like my kind of book. So it's about a woman who moves to a Cotswold cottage, and when she's digging up the garden, she finds human remains, I think, and then she becomes involved in this investigation and there's threats against her life, and it's called A Thought-Provoking Take on the Country House Murder Mystery. So sounds like something I might really like. Gemma from Gem of Books kindly passed on to me 3 books. All these books I have read and really enjoyed, so happy to own copies of them. First is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, who I think was Belgian, and this is translated from French by Ros Schwartz. So I listened to this on audiobook earlier this year and really enjoyed it, but I couldn't get hold of a physical copy from any of the libraries that I am a member of. So I knew I wanted to reread it at some point, and I knew I wanted to read it physically. This is a book quite unlike anything I've read before. We have a group of about 40 women, I think, who are living underground, deep underground, and they're being guarded by these men. They have been in there for a long time. They don't know why they're there. They don't know what's going on in the outside world. It's a really fascinating story in many ways, and there's a lot. It's very thought-provoking. There's a lot to think about, so it's a book that I definitely want to revisit in future. Gemma also passed on to me Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, which I think I read with my book club about 10 years ago. So this is set in Iceland, and it's about a woman who is sentenced to death for murdering her lover. And it's her story basically. This I remember was a 5-star read when I read it all those years ago. So I am looking forward to rereading that one. And another 5-star read is The Secrets of Hartwood Hall by Booktuber's own Katie Lumsden. This was an absolute 5-star when I read this a year or two ago. I love this so much. This is a gothic mystery about a woman who goes to work as a governess at Hartwood Hall. She goes to look after this young boy, and the people who live there are sort of very isolated from other people in the town. There's lots of rumours about the people who live in this house, and obviously lots of secrets to be uncovered. I love this book so much. It's absolutely brilliant. If you're looking for like a gothic mystery, sort of like Bronte inspired, excellent, excellent. Now, where shall we go? Let's go with these three. And we'll finish with crime. So I got The Wise Virgins by Leonard Woolf, who was married to Virginia Woolf. This is a novel. I believe it's partly semi-autobiographical. It's a Persephone. Here are the end papers. And, excitingly, because I got the second hand, it has the bookmark with it. I really like Persephone bookmarks. I've been using one recently. And they're just good bookmarks. And I was thinking to myself just before, when I was thinking about this book, I wonder if you can buy Persephone bookmarks by themselves, and you can get them on the website. So I've just spent, like, before filming this video, I spent about half an hour going through the 150, 160 Persephone books and looking at all the bookmarks and deciding which ones I want to buy. Another book I got this in a book fair. This is A Winter Book by Tove Jansson. So this is translated from Swedish, I think, yes. Oh, by three people: Sylvester Mazzarella, David Macduff and Kingsley Hart. Introduction by Ali Smith. I'm not sure what I think about that. So I've not read any Tove Jansson before. Most famous for writing the Moomin books. And they wrote a book called The Summer Book, which I do want to read at some point, probably next summer. So this is a short story collection of their best loved and most famous stories. So yeah, looking forward to reading that. I mean, it makes sense to read that in winter, right? So whether, maybe this will be like a January read. In a cafe, they had a charity table. You can leave like £1 to get a book, and I picked up The Seven Moons of Marley Almeida by Shihan Karunatilaka. Apologies if I haven't pronounced that right. This is in really nice condition. So this won the Booker Prize a couple of years ago. I never read it at the time because my library never had a copy of it. I think they do now have a hardback copy, but not a paperback. So I thought I would pick this up and give it a go, because I feel like, it won in 2022. That is 2 years ago. Because I feel like this might be a book that I might really like. I know my friend Charlie from Charlie Book Reads really loves it. It says, imagine a mashup of Stranger Things and Salman Rushdie. Okay, interesting. So I think this has does it have kind of aspects of magical realism or like weird stuff going on? So it's set in Colombo in 1990. And Marley Almeida is a war photographer, gambler and closet gay. He wakes up dead in what seems like a celestial visa office. His dismembered body is sinking into the lake and he has no idea who killed him. So it's in the afterlife. He has 7 moons to try and contact the man and woman he loves most and lead them to a hidden cache of photos that will rock Sri Lanka. Sounds interesting. Sounds a bit unusual. And then I've got a whole stack of crime books because I'm me. I've got In a Lonely Place by Dorothy B. Hughes. So this is one of these penguin, like green crime books, which I keep eyeing these up in the bookshelf, but I've not bought one yet. So I got this one second hand. I don't know if this is going to be for me or not, but I thought I'd give it a go. It's set in LA in the late 1940s, and there's a serial killer murdering women. And yeah, so it's like a psychological noir novel, I think. So I thought I would give that a go. I got 2 books in these sort of crime classics editions. So I've got The Sleeping Tiger by D.M. Devine, who I've not heard of before actually. And this one sounds interesting because it opens up on a trial. So there's a a solicitor is standing at trial, and it says someone else, one of the witnesses, must have been the killer, but which one? So, intriguing. I also got Some Must Watch by Ethelina White, who is most famous for writing, I think, the book that The Lady Vanishes, the Hitchcock film's based on, I think I'm right in saying that. So this one, Some Must Watch, was the inspiration for the film The Spiral Staircase, which I have not seen or heard of before. It's about a woman who takes a position of lady help in a remote country house. Okay, I already think this sounds excellent. She learns that a murderer is on the loose. All 4 of the victims were young girls, and the last of these was strangled in a house just 5 miles away. The maniac is closer than she fears. Sounds good. And then I got a load of these British Library crime classics. So here, behind my head, are my British Library crime classics that I have not yet read. I've got some that I have read, which are just mingled amongst my other books. But these are all the ones that I've picked up in the last couple of months. So normally if I can get these from the library, I will do that rather than getting them, except for this first one. So this is The Poison Chocolates Case by Anthony Berkeley. Anthony Berkeley is one of my favourite Golden Age crime authors, and this is his most famous novel, which I've read a couple of times, and this book is in good condition, so very happy to have it for my collection. So this is about someone who is killed following eating poison chocolates, as you might be able to guess from the title. But then it's told in an interesting way, because so they have like various people who are looking into the case, and each of them come up with their own solution. So you'll get like a chapter from each of them who'll say, well, I think it was this person, and this is the motive, and this was how they did it. Da, 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 da. So you get all these different potential solutions, and then you get like the actual final solution. I think I'm right in saying that Agatha Christie really liked Anthony Berkeley. So these are just fairly random now. So we have Death on the Downbeat, an orchestral fantasy of detection by Sebastian Farr, who I haven't heard of before. I don't think I've read anything from him before. So this one is told through letters and documents, which sounds interesting and a bit different. And a conductor is shot dead in full view of the orchestra and the audience. Sounds good. Death on the Riviera by John Bude. I've got a couple of John Budes, and I don't know if I've actually read any of them, so I probably should read one before acquiring any more. So this is about a counterfeit currency racket on the French Riviera, centred around this one house where there's various people staying there, and one of them has something to hide, and there's a murder. Next is The Female Detective by Andrew Forrester. This again looks quite interesting because it's told in first person perspective, which is quite unusual, I would say, for Golden Age crime fiction. Like the first 2 lines are, "Who am I? It can matter little who I am." Sounds good. So I think it's from the point of view of Miss Gladden, who is a female detective. Actually, it says this was first published in 1864. So that's not Golden Age at all, is it? Which is interesting, because they don't normally... Yeah, because they don't normally publish stuff that old, the British Library crime classics. So that is interesting. And apparently it was well ahead of its time, because there weren't any female police officers in any of the novels. I mean, this, unless that is a pseudonym, was written by a man. Yes, it is a pseudonym, but I think it was still written by a man. So, you know, we'll see. We'll give it a go. Another one by John Bude, The Lake District Murder. A body is found in an isolated garage. Classic mystery novel. There we go. Oh, and another one. I mean, I didn't know I had that many John Budes. Death Makes a Profit by John Bude. Let's see what this is about. Oh, yeah. I remember this. The blurb. Let me read this. Wellwith Garden City in the 1940s is a forward-thinking town where free spirits find a home. Vegetarians, socialists, and an array of exotic religious groups. I find that funny because I'm a vegetarian. So there's some sort of cult, vegetarian socialist cult, and there's a murder, and it's described as a bizarre case. And then the final one is Death of an Airman by Christopher St John Sprigg. I think my dad said he really liked this one. I think I'm right in saying. So this is about a pilot who dies when his plane crashes into the English countryside, but everyone's very confused because he was an excellent pilot. How could this possibly have happened, and was it murder? So those are all my books. That's a lot of books. So what I'm going to do now is rearrange my shelves. I'm not entirely sure where they're all going, but I'll make space. I'll figure it out. So yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts on any of these books in particular. Let me know any books you have acquired recently. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Bye.